Today's video is sponsored by Sprocket 365. Finally, create a robust knowledge base in SharePoint. Learn more at sprocket365.com. You know, they might be one of the most valuable software companies in the world, but they've made a few mistakes. On this week's episode, I'm going to look at the top 10 Microsoft bloopers of all time, and some of them might surprise you. Hello everyone, Andy here. So nice to see you and a warm welcome to my channel, especially if this is your first visit. I've been in IT for quite some time now, as you can probably tell. It's turned me grey. And you know, Microsoft, I've worked with them for many years. I love them close to my heart. But like any big company, they've made some bloopers over the years. And some of them are product based, some of them are decision based. Some of them you may not know about, and in this episode I'm going to walk through my top 10 mistakes of all time, and some of these might surprise you. Now, just to remind you, if you haven't subscribed, we'd love you to come on board, so bump the subscribe button up there, and if you enjoy the video, give me a big thumbs up, and comments, questions, as always, get those down below. So, are you ready to count down then? Okay. Buckle up and let's take a look. Oh, how I remember this one. Coming in at my number 10 is Windows Vista. I've been an MVP now for, about 18 years. And in my first year of being an MVP, I was invited to Las Vegas and the launch of Windows Vista. Microsoft, this was the days when Microsoft had money, and boy, they knew how to spend it. Touted as the next generation of Windows, 64-bit and 32-bit, you could install this on a multitude of devices. It introduced the Universal Windows platform, which meant that you could install it on laptops, on mobile devices, on TVs, and all kind of things, and the idea was that you could have a universal app. Now, much of this, of course, is still in Windows today. It introduced things like BitLocker, for example, along with other security mechanisms as well, which have become super important in today's world. But I do feel it did have a bad rap at the time. I felt the critics were a little harsh with it. It did have a lot of promise, but there you go. That's my number 10, Windows Vista. Well, you know what they say. A dead dog with fleas is still a dead dog. And of course, Viva Engage is its new name, previously known as the artist called Yammer. This was an expensive Microsoft purchase that promised universal social networking. Touted as the business version of Facebook and LinkedIn, of course this was before they actually bought LinkedIn, the Yammer was supposed to bring everyone together from a business state. Now, whether they've managed to do this or not, I'm not sure. I'll let you draw your own conclusions to that one. But there you go, my number 9 is Yammer, otherwise known as Viva Engage. Well, coming in at my number 8, you cannot laugh at this one, but this must have brought tears to the eyes, was Microsoft's acquisition of Nokia. Nokia was a powerhouse of an organization, and Microsoft wanted to get into the phone market. So it was the most expensive acquisition in Microsoft history. They spent billions under the careful, watchful guidance of Steve Ballmer. Maybe this was his downfall, actually. Needless to say, they took a very profitable company and basically turned it into junk overnight. Real shame, actually, but there you go. That's definitely coming in at my number 8. The doomed Microsoft acquisition of Nokia. Coming in at my number 7 is the Microsoft Band. Under the watchful eye of Satya Nadella, Microsoft has grown to a powerhouse of cloud computing, and that is by far their most successful venture yet. And it would appear that bloopers are not limited to Steve Ballmer or Bill Gates alone, and Satya Nadella has one or two. And to be fair, Microsoft have been pretty innovative when it comes to hardware. Actually, one may argue much more so than companies like Apple, which have just rode on the back of past technologies. And one of those, of course, is the Microsoft Band. It was a shame it was a failure, I think typically down to the quality of the product. Often the bands would break and they did get a bad rap, but needless to say, I have to take my hat off to them for at least trying. But there you go, my number 7, the doomed Microsoft Band.
Days ago, on the 19th of July, the world came to a standstill. A massive worldwide Microsoft outage crippled various industries, including aviation.
Now, this one, of course, needs no introduction. Crowdstrike unearthed a number of vulnerabilities in the Windows Core operating system. Now, of course, this was all down to bad software testing, i.e. they didn't test it before they rolled it out. Need I say more? So there you have it. Crowdstrike is my number 6. Coming in at my number 5, of course, is this one. This must have been a bitter pill to swallow. Windows 8. Now, Windows 7 was incredibly successful, but again, Microsoft decided to change everything, specifically to introduce their Windows RT device, which is another story completely. Again, a major failure for Microsoft, but it did see the birth of the Microsoft Surface device, and in its current form, it's actually a pretty good product. But after, I don't know how many versions there's been now, 10 versions, they've actually got it right, perhaps. It did introduce touchscreen, of course, so definitely in competition with Apple's iPad, but they never quite got it right. It was a good idea at the time, again, but alas, Windows 8 was not to be. So coming in at my number 4 is a rather controversial one. I mentioned that it's not all product-based, but in fact service-based. One of the great successes in the past was Microsoft Learning, and you can see that, like me, I was an instructor. You would come on a class and you would learn the Microsoft products within a week. Well, a couple of years ago, Microsoft decided to move all of that onto a single platform, Microsoft Learn. Now, at the moment, it's been moderately successful. However, Microsoft are continuing to focus heavily on cloud-based certifications. Now, the only downside of this is they have completely abandoned any server-side products. So even though they have new server-based products coming out like Windows Server and so on, it's going to be very difficult to get training on these because basically there are no training courses on these. And essentially, it's now become a self-study platform. But there we go, I'll let you draw your own conclusions to that one. Has it been a success or has it been a failure? Microsoft Learn, you can visit them today at learn.microsoft.com. So on this week's episode, it's time to say goodbye to Azure AD. I'm going to miss it. But hello to Entra ID. What does it all mean for you? Stay tuned and you'll find out. We certainly did find out, didn't we? Coming in at number 3, the constant rebranding. Microsoft marketing has gone crazy rebranding everything. So security becomes Defender, compliance becomes Purview, privacy becomes Priva, and of course the beloved Azure Active Directory becomes the dreaded Entra ID. What do you think? But there you go. No choice, I guess. Microsoft marketing rules.
Hey, did you ever find tickets to Hawaii? Hawaii 5-0. Book 'em, Dano. Aloha.
You know what they say, all bad things begin with B. And coming in at my number 2 is Microsoft Bing, the Microsoft search engine that tried to rival Google. Yeah, well, it didn't quite go according to plan. And it's been like a bit like one of those bad tastes in your mouth, you know? Bing. No, I don't think so. There you go, my number 2.
That HD DVD would win out over Blu-ray.
How old were you then?
Old enough to know better. You know, and now that I think about it, I stood in front of a case of iPods and I bought a Zune.
What's a Zune?
Yep, exactly.
Coming in at my number 1, I remember this. In fact, I've still got one and it still works. 18 years ago, Microsoft launched the Microsoft Zune player to compete with Apple's iPod. However, the best laid plans, I'm afraid. It never came to fruition and it didn't do very well. I'm sure there's a few lying around in drawers somewhere, but there we go. My number 1, the Microsoft Zune player. Good luck if you can get one today. There we go, music is life. What can I say? Fade to black. So there you have it, my top 10 of kind of, well, would you call them failures, disasters? Every company has to fail before they move forward. That's what they said. Hey, I'd love to know what you would have included in your top 10. I'll bet you it includes Microsoft Bob and Microsoft Millennium, if you can remember that far back. Hey, listen, if you've enjoyed the episode, give me a big thumbs up, bump the subscribe button, and come on and join us. All right, questions, comments, as always, get those down below and I'll see what I can do for you. All right, that's it for today. I'll see you next time. Cheers. Hey, thanks so much for dropping by today. Here's a couple of videos that you may enjoy, and while you're here, go ahead, click on the subscribe button and you won't miss out.